It's been over 5 months since the Nintendo Switch 2 released, and since then I have been doing my absolute best to try and pick up as many Nintendo Switch 2 accessories as I can. And today I'm going to be talking about all of them, from my favorites to ones I didn't actually enjoy all that much. And if you're someone who really doesn't like the look of the Nintendo Switch 2, then this video might be for you, because I've found a couple of accessories that can really help the Nintendo Switch 2's look. Okay, the first thing we're going to start with is actually the absolute essentials. The first one being a screen protector. Now, before you even look at your brand new Nintendo Switch 2 or turn it on, you need to put a screen protector on this ASAP. These scratches you see right here, these were done with less than half a day's use of the Switch 2, and I was being careful. This screen is just unbelievably easy to leave marks on. I will always personally recommend that you go with a tempered glass screen protector, as it not only protects more, but also I think looks better. A lot of people have also been saying that because the Nintendo Switch 2 screen is so glossy, to try and go for an anti-glare screen to make it a little bit easier to play games outside. Now, I absolutely suck at putting on a screen protector, so I always go for one of these ones that kind of lines it up for you with the plastic, so you don't have to worry too much. The other absolute essential that I recommend is a memory card. Now, I would consider this essential for the Switch 2, mainly because so many of our physical games at the moment aren't really fully physical, which means that you're going to end up needing to download a lot of software onto your Switch 2 if you play a lot of games. Now, typically, I always say do not buy an SD card that has the Nintendo branding on it, as these tend to be more expensive, but things are a little bit more difficult with the Switch 2 because you need a very specific type of memory card for it to work. So you're going to be looking for a memory card which says Express on it. Again, this doesn't necessarily need to be a Nintendo branded card, but it has to say Express to work on the Switch 2. Now, unfortunately, Express cards are more expensive, so keep an eye out around Black Friday, see if any go on offer, but it is incredibly useful if you have a large digital library. That's the boring stuff out of the way. Let's get on to the fun stuff. And first up, let's do the Nintendo Switch 2 skins. Now, this particular one I have right here is the Play Vital one. I just got this off of Amazon. And this not only makes your Switch 2 look a little bit nicer, in my opinion, but it's also a hard case. Now, what really caught my eye about this case, though, is it not only puts a hard shell on the outside, but it also puts stuff over the buttons to completely change the look of your Switch 2. Now, the plus side of this case is I do really like the look of it and the attention to detail, as this not only covers your Joy-Cons completely, but also all of the buttons on the top here as well, and it's actually made the power button easier to press. The Joy-Cons are also fully detachable with this case as well, which is great. The downside, to me at least, or the thing that's taken some time to get used to, is the kind of mesh that you put over the top of them before you put the hard case on means that they've become a little bit squishy. So this case is definitely not for everyone, especially if you like playing in handheld mode a lot, as it does really change the feel of things. The other downside is this case doesn't do a whole lot for how easy the Switch 2 is to hold. It adds a little bit of something on the bottom here, but that's about it. The other thing to bear in mind is that this does cover the kickstand. And because of this, they have given us a little stand for the Switch 2 instead. Whilst I do love the fact that it's white, it isn't the sturdiest stand in the world. Now, the white color is definitely starting to attract a little bit of dirt. It's something you need to clean regularly, but there are a ton of colors over on their website, with there being a mix of solid colors that you can get, like the one I have, or patterned ones as well. Next up, let's talk about D-Brand, because there you can buy a skin and a grip all in one. Now, this is definitely on the pricier end of ways to spice up your Nintendo Switch 2. Now, there's lots of different bundles you can choose from on the D-Brand website, but I just went for the cheapest, which is the Essential. And this just comes with the Switch case and the skin. Now, the skin itself is just a sticker, but it actually wasn't that difficult to put on, and I think looks pretty good, even though it's not 100% perfect, and it has a really soft feel. But the thing I was really interested with this is actually the grip. I don't find the Nintendo Switch 2 is all that comfortable to hold without one, and I was really interested in how good this was going to be. Now, everything to do with this case is actually fully removable. So you have the 2 Joy-Con parts, and you also have a back plate as well. Now, actually in handheld mode, I have really enjoyed this grip. For my tiny hands, I found that this is the perfect size. This has made gaming in handheld mode so much easier for me. And I also really like the look of the skin coupled with the grips. Again, the Joy-Cons are fully detachable even with the skin on. And yes, I did get the new version of this D-brand case, as the originals apparently had the Joy-Cons falling off constantly. The downside to this case is if you keep the back plate on it, you can't actually dock this in your Nintendo Switch 2 dock. And instead, it comes with this sort of dock attachment that will leave your Nintendo Switch 2 dock on the outside instead of the inside. And all you have to do is slip this inside of the dock for it to work. And I am not the biggest fan of this dock. You see, the issue is it's really not that quick and easy to dock the Switch 2 in this way. And this takes me way longer than it would do to just put the Switch 2 in the normal dock. The other issue with this dock is if you don't dock it properly, you wind up scratching your Switch 2. Now, D-brand have gotten around this by giving you a sticker to put around your port at the bottom, so at least that gets scratched up instead of it being your actual Switch. So actually what I found myself doing is simply when I want to dock my Switch 2, I just take the back plate off and put it in the dock. I much prefer that than fiddling around with their dock attachment. Now, I will say, as much as I love the D-brand grip, it is really expensive. So I wanted to test out a cheaper alternative. And this is the Savage Raven Skull & Co. grip. And I made sure to pick up the one with colors instead of it just being plain black again. Now, this one is super simple. All you do is slide it onto your Nintendo Switch 2. And because this comes with, I think, 3 different grips for you to choose from, you can make sure that you get one perfect for your hand size. The part I really like about this particular grip is you can dock your Switch whilst keeping the grip on, which I think is a really nice addition. And even though it's not overly fancy, it really does get the job done. So if you're someone who struggles to hold the Nintendo Switch 2 and doesn't want to break the bank, I definitely recommend this one. Next up, let's talk Nintendo Switch 2 cases, as I've been testing out a fair number of those as well. First up, we just have a super simple and well-used case by me. If you're someone who's tight on bag space, I can recommend this one. This case comes from TomTok, and they come in a bunch of different colors other than this one. Now, this is pretty solid, so it will somewhat protect your Switch 2. I do like the fact that it has the room for you to hold some games as well. And the real benefit of this case, honestly, is just the fact that it is so small. It means the Switch 2 can fit into most bags if you want it to. My next case is truly the complete opposite, as it is massive. But look how cute it is. This is the Geek Share case. And honestly, I bought it for one reason. It's this. Now, I like this case because not only does it have enough room for your Switch 2 in, and I can also put my Switch 2 in the D-brand case in this one, which I really like. It also has a really soft inside, enough space for you to have some games, but also some space for you to keep some accessories in the top here, which I do love. The downside is, though, as you can see, it is absolutely massive, but it will do a okay job at protecting your Switch 2. My current favorite, though, is actually from Belkin. First of all, because I love the color. Second of all, because this is the most sturdy of all the cases that I've been looking at. But also because this solves, or at least tries to solve, one of the biggest issues of the Switch 2, and that is its battery life. Now, this comes with a built-in battery pack that is 20 watts, and this is designed so that when you put your Switch 2 in the case, you can also charge it. So whenever you take it out of its case, it'll be fully charged and ready to go. Now, one of my biggest issues with the Switch 2 is actually the fact that when it's on idle, it still uses a fair amount of battery power. And at least when you're on the go, this tries to fix it. And the best part of this case, I think, is the fact that it fits in it with the D-brand case on again. It's a little snug, but it does close, so that's all that matters. They also do a version of this case without the battery pack in it for a lot less money. So honestly, so far, this is my favorite case. Even if you don't get this case though, I do recommend if you're traveling to have a battery pack with you. I've also got an Anchor battery pack, which is massive, but also perfect for long journeys, which I also recommend. The next section is just all of your standard Switch accessories. And this first one is actually going to be one you really want to look into if you're buying Metroid Prime 4, because this is a mouse mode grip. Now, the ones I have are from Venom UK, and as you can see, the controller just fits inside of it and just makes the mouse mode grip bigger and much more usable. Now, for me, the worst thing about mouse mode is the fact that my nails would grind along the table when I'm using it, and this does get rid of that happening. Now, you don't have to necessarily pick up this exact brand. This is just what my local game store was selling, but definitely if you're looking at buying Metroid Prime 4, find some sort of accessory or grip that makes it larger. I also decided to pick up the official Switch 2 wheels because I really wanted to see what these were like. Now, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting this to be so small. This really isn't all that different from holding the little Joy-Cons themselves and using tilt controls. Now, I will say these are higher quality than I was expecting. The fact that the controllers do just magnetize to go in is a nice touch. And I do actually really like the paddle buttons on the back. But for the price, unless you play a lot of Mario Kart and you play it in tilt controls only, there's not many other games that this will work for, so it's probably more of a gimmick than it is anything else. But that is what it's always been with the wheel accessories. Next up, let's talk all about controllers. Now, by far, my favorite controller is the Pro Controller. And whilst I can't say it's 100% worth the money because it is incredibly expensive, I will say this is probably my favorite controller I've used so far. Now, when it comes to controllers, the biggest thing you need to look at is the features. So obviously the Pro Controller is the most expensive, but it's the one with every single feature. So the Pro Controller has the ability to read amiibos, it has HD rumble, it is wireless, and it also has motion controls. Those are the 4 big features. But that doesn't mean it is the only controller you can buy, as you'll be able to find a lot of different ones for different price points, depending on what functionality it has. So this is one of the cheaper controllers, and that is because it is wired. Now, whilst this is gorgeous, it does feel a lot lighter and cheaper than the Pro Controller does. And whilst this does have mappable buttons on the back and a C button as well, it is missing a lot of the functionality that you have from the Pro Controller. So obviously this is wired, but this is also missing motion controls, HD rumble, and the ability to read amiibo. Now, this is definitely the cheaper end of the third-party controllers that you can buy, but as your price range goes up, you'll get more of the functionalities that the Pro Controller has. I will say though, the third-party controllers are so much prettier than the Pro Controller. Why can't Nintendo do stuff like this instead of just being plain black? I also picked up this stealth magnetic charger, and whilst I do think its build quality is pretty good, and I like the way the Joy-Cons connect to it, it's not something I found myself using all that much. It's also harder than it looks to actually connect the Joy-Cons into it, but I'm gonna be real, I think the big issue is Joy-Cons are so expensive. I don't think many people are gonna have that many sets lying around, so I don't think many people are gonna need this. But either way, it works well if it's something you're looking for. Next is game cases. Now, I feel like there is a Nintendo Switch 2 tax on every single peripheral that works for the Switch 2. And the good news about this is that the game cartridges are the exact same size on the Switch and the Switch 2, which means you can use just the same cases. I would actually go as far as to say, avoid any case which just says it's made for the Switch 2, because it's gonna be more expensive. So I've just been reusing the same case I've had for years. This is just one I found on Amazon, and this has done me really well over the years. I think I've had it for about 6 years now. It's traveled with me to about 4 different houses and had my games in there nice and safe. This stays at home, and then whatever games I want to take with me when I travel, I just put in my Switch 2 case, because if I lost this, that is like 50% of my Switch library gone. So this is something I leave in the house and I don't take outside with me. But it is pretty sturdy if it ever needs to venture further than the walls of your home. The final accessory we're going to talk about is the webcams. Now, first of all, I do want to say, so far, the webcams are more of a gimmick than they are something you need to play games. There are a few games that use the webcam functionality. However, a vast majority of them, you don't need the webcam to play the game. It's just something they've added onto it. Now, I love the look of this Hori webcam. However, you are not getting a whole lot of webcam for your money with this one. You are getting an entire 480p. Which, as you can see here, does not look great. And that's such a shame because I love this. It's so good. We also have the official Nintendo webcam. Now this is 1080p, so it is a lot better than the Hori one. It is incredibly wide angle though. It's gonna capture your entire room with this. So I'm just not sure that it's all that necessary, especially when most webcams just work with the Switch 2. So you don't need to go out and pay for one which has Nintendo Switch 2 branding. And that, I believe, is everything for my favorite Nintendo Switch 2 accessories. If I've missed any that you absolutely love, leave them in the comments down below. And if you want to see some upcoming games I'm really excited about, click this video here.